Madden 23 officially has just received the worst news yet of the year, if you can believe that. It's been a rocky year since launch. There's been a lot of issues with the game, mostly within game modes, a lot of server issues, a lot of franchise mode issues, and a lot of Ultimate Team issues, as most of you know who've been around here all year. And for those of you who just got the game for Christmas, you've been experiencing these issues as well since pretty much the day you got the game. Now, in the previous couple videos, I talked about how franchise mode was once again down, and we hadn't had an update on when it would be fixed. This has been an issue going on all year where people would get kicked out of their franchises, locked out, or they'd have their franchises restarted even sometimes, but they usually were able to get it fixed within a reasonable amount of time and get things back working properly, but shortly after it would go down again. And this last time it went down, we hadn't heard anything for a few days and people have been wondering what's going on. Well, today EA put out the news and it's not good. And really quickly before we get into the video, I do want to let you know we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. They do support the channel a ton. If you want to try out their pick'em game on their fantasy app, you can double your first deposit up to $100 with my code RAY, R-A-Y. It gives you some free money to play with. It's a really fun app. If you like messing around with the sports betting a little bit, it's something I like to do from time to time. So if you are into that kind of thing, check it out, and the code does help support the channel. They made a post on their forums a few hours ago and it said, "Hello Madden franchise community. We wanted to provide you with an update and the next steps around your online franchise CFM leagues and face of the franchise saves from 12/28. From the developers, on Wednesday 12/28 around 2:45 p.m. Eastern, players trying to access the franchise server were given an error that leagues were unavailable. The issue persisted until 12:45 p.m. Eastern on Thursday 12/29. Unfortunately, if you logged into franchise leagues during this time, your data was affected due to a data storage issue that resulted in franchise files being corrupted. Players in leagues who did not log in during that window, your leagues were not impacted and are currently safe to log into and play." First off, we're sorry that this happened. We know how important your franchises are to you, and we are actively working on a fix to restore some files via a backup as soon as possible. However, not all affected leagues can be restored. The team is currently projecting around 40% of leagues to be recovered. We will communicate an updated timeline next week around the potential restoration of save files from the backup. If you've logged in during the above window, we encourage you to start a new franchise as the mode is up and running. Stay tuned to Madden NFL Direct for updates around the franchise restoration. And as you can imagine, the backlash has not been good. But honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't been worse, and I think the only reason it's not too bad right now is probably because it's the weekend and a holiday. But as we go into next week, I'm pretty sure we're gonna start seeing a lot of people talking about this, maybe even some bigger accounts and websites reporting on this. I believe that a lot of backlash is probably coming as a result of this, because not only has the game had so many problems all year long as it pertains to franchise and Ultimate Team, with players not being able to play for extended periods of time, you're now telling people that more than half of their franchise leagues cannot be recovered. That is just inexcusable, honestly. Like I said in one of my previous videos, I'm tired of having to make these negative videos, but there's really nothing I can do about it because negative stuff keeps happening and it keeps getting worse. People who have put so much time into their franchise modes are losing them, and the solution is to just start a new one. What confidence have you given any of your player base that they should invest any more time into this game? Why would anybody start a new franchise mode after 60% of leagues are projected to be lost? All of that time and effort that was put into it, and mind you, it's not even about just the time and effort that was put into playing the game and running a league itself. You also have to factor in all of the countless problems that all of these leagues experienced during the way. There's been weeks at a time where none of these leagues could run because there was a draft glitch that would revert the league. There were glitches that wouldn't allow a 30-second user to join a league. There were glitches that were constantly kicking people out or kicking people weeks back, and they were losing progress and having to redo things. So you had multiple times this year where leagues couldn't progress, where they had to kind of sit around and wait for a fix. And even on top of that, they still put a lot of time into the game, and now for 60% of them, all of that is gone. Through all the stuff they've already went through, the leagues are gone, and the answer is we'll just start a new one. Why would anybody start a new one after what they've experienced for the last 4 or so months? It just doesn't make any sense. Who's to say that this same thing isn't going to happen again next month or 2 months or 3 months from now? Because even though this is the worst that it's gotten, with over half of the leagues projected to cannot be recovered. It's not like there's been a period of time this year where it's been running smoothly. At best, people might have had a week or 2 weeks in their online CFMs where things were running smoothly, but most people, it seems like, have had issues every week with this mode. So why would you start a new one after you went through all of that? You know, I don't know what the problem is at this point. It's really unfortunate because the game has had so many issues over the last few years, and this year, coming into this game, it seemed like this was going to be at least a solid year for Madden. Gameplay had improved, they added some good new things to the game, but when you have your two biggest modes be unplayable for so much of the year, and I realize Ultimate Team hasn't had it quite as bad as Franchise, but Ultimate Team has been pretty bad as well. There's plenty of people who still have not been able to log into Ultimate Team for a week. That exists. Just like you can't get into your franchises, there's a lot of people who cannot get into Ultimate Team, and they actually put out another message earlier today, right after the Franchise message, saying, "Hey MUT community, our team is aware of a small number of users unable to access Madden Ultimate Team. We're currently working on this issue, and we will update this thread with a timeline early next week." Now, the thing I don't like about this either is how they say it's a small number of users. At this point, whether the number is small or large, I don't even think it's necessary to include that, for the simple fact that this game has had way too many issues this year to try to have a silver lining, I guess, and say, oh, it's only a small number of users. It shouldn't matter if it's even one user at this point. People spend money on this game, and in Ultimate Team, people spend even more money within the game. So if you can't access the mode, that's a problem, whether it's a small number or a large number. It doesn't matter, because if you've played Madden 23, you've been affected more than likely with one of these modes at some point of this year, where you either couldn't log on, where you were getting kicked out, whether you were getting pushed backwards, whether you weren't getting the right rewards, whether you weren't allowed to progress in either mode. These things have happened to pretty much everybody that's played the game. So I don't think we need to sit here and stress it's only a small number of users. No, because it's a big number of problems. That's the thing we should be focused on. It's a big number of problems this year. And like I said in some previous videos, I'm one of the more positive people in the community. I really am. I don't like to make negative videos. I don't like to talk about the bad things about the game. I like to focus on the good. But this year, while there is some good, I do think with gameplay being better than it has been in years past, there's a lot of bad with the game modes. And that's really a big part of your game. Like, yes, the gameplay is better and that's great, but if I can't log into the two biggest game modes and play, or I can't play for more than a week without some major issue happening, then everything else doesn't matter. The positive does not matter if I can't really play the game or have any faith that any of the time I'm putting into the game is going to be properly rewarded. And the thing with Ultimate Team is, when Ultimate Team has issues, there's at least some type of way to smooth it over, right? Anytime MUT has any crazy issues where you either can't get in, or you get the wrong rewards, or you can't progress, they do what's called make rights. They give you make rights. They give you the stuff that you were supposed to get, and then they'll give you something extra on top for your troubles, for your, I guess, quote unquote, pain and suffering, for lack of a better term. They'll give you something for free. They'll give you a pack, or they'll give you a free player, or they'll just give you something. And for most people, that kind of smooths it over, because if you're getting something for free, something extra, people are a little bit more forgiving of your issues, at least for the short term, because they're getting something out of it. With franchise mode, there's nothing like that you can do for people, just because of the nature of the mode. It's not a rewards based mode. It's more of something you build on your own. It's a story you build within your own mode. You can't give people something that's gonna smooth that over, and you can't just magically restore all of these leagues if you lost it, because every league is very unique and has its own life. You can't just try to make up 60% of leagues and restore that for people if you've lost the data. You just can't do it. The literal only thing you can do for franchise mode players is just simply refund the money they spent on the game, but that still does not really begin to match the time that they put into the game. Yes, they might get their money back, which is cool, but they've wasted months of time, and you can't get that back. With Ultimate Team, the time you put in isn't necessarily as wasted, because once things are back running right, or you get your make rights, your team is still intact, your coins are intact, all of your progress is intact. You don't lose progress in Ultimate Team because of the way the mode's set up, whereas a franchise mode, you can be 5, 6, 7 seasons in, so many drafts, so many trades, so many free agents, players have retired, so much history of the league has been built. You can't restore that back if you lose it. You can't make take that back, and that's the issue. So even if you refund players, they've still wasted their time, and now they're probably not going to want to buy in the future because this is the lasting memory that they have. It's just really unfortunate because franchise is still the biggest mode in the game, and Ultimate Team is a close second, and neither of those communities are happy because they don't feel like they have a consistent working product. And I just simply at this point don't know what the problem is. I always say that it comes more from the top. I don't think it's really the developers. I think it's a much bigger issue than that, but at the end of the day, the developers are the ones that are going to get the blame because that's the people that the community knows. Nobody really knows who's sitting at the top, but the infrastructure of the game is clearly in a bad state because the servers and the server related issues have never been worse. They've literally never been worse, and at this point, it seems like they can't even get them to stay steady for even 2 weeks, and if that's the case, there's a big problem. Something needs to be invested into the infrastructure of this game, and obviously there's even more problems beyond that, but I think that's priority number one. If you can't have modes that can work for even weeks at a time, and now you're losing over half of the leagues, even if you only lost 20% of leagues, that would still be a big issue. That's still a fifth of the player base, but you said you're losing 60%. That is absolutely insane, and it just gives people literally no reason to want to play your game if they're invested into that type of a mode. Why would they? But it's just very unfortunate. I don't really have the words. I feel like I'm kind of rambling in this video. Usually I feel like I'm a little better at getting my point across, but I just don't really know what to say because this is just baffling. This is one of the worst things that's ever happened in this game. If you're one of the people that were affected by this, I'm genuinely sorry for you guys. If you're a franchise player that can't play and have also probably lost your league, I'm sorry. If you're an Ultimate Team player who can't get in and hasn't been able to get in for a week since you bought the game or got it as a gift for Christmas, I'm sorry. And going forward, I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with this game. You know, I like to believe that they have some good people in that building. I know they have good people in that building, but I think the problems are much further above those people, and there's only so much that those guys can do about it. That's just what I honestly think. From everything that I know, that's how I see it. There's good people in the building. There's people that want the game to be just as good as all of us want it to be, but the people way above them that ultimately make the most important decisions, I think they might just be a little bit disconnected. Not even a little bit. I think they just are disconnected from the reality of what the product has become. And all I can hope is that at some point in the near future, something good happens. But right now, it's just, there's not a lot of hope to be had for this game. And it's unfortunate because it's my favorite game and I'm just feeling really down about it.